Good evening. This is CTV News for Tuesday, November 25th. I'm Gina Barty.
And I'm Byron Scott. Thank you for joining us tonight. Well, in Ferguson, Missouri, there are calls for peace following a night of chaos. In the aftermath of the grand jury's decision not to bring charges against police officer Darren Wilson, violence erupted in the streets of Ferguson. At least a dozen buildings torched, many others looted. Police say angry protesters smashed the windows of more than 24 businesses. Several cars at a dealership and at least 2 police cars were also on fire. Now, police in riot gear tear gas crowds and fired rubber bullets. There were dozens of arrests. The region remains on edge. Now, earlier today, the attorney for the Brown family and civil rights leaders held a news conference in that area to express their disappointment with the grand jury's decision, and prosecutor Robert McCullough. Attorney Ben Crump says this case is far from over.
I pray that prosecutors will say, we want people to believe in the system. And if that means appointing a special prosecutor who has no relationship with the accused officers, that you do so. The legacy of Michael Brown Jr. should be one, not where we just make a lot of noise, Mr. Brown. That wouldn't be the proper legacy to your son. The legacy to Michael Brown Jr. should be that instead of just striving to make a lot of noise, we strive to make a difference.
And in the wake of yesterday's decision, NAACP chapters from around the country are heading to Ferguson for a 7-day, 120-mile march to the capital city of Jefferson City. Local NAACP head Bob Ross says he'll be there.
At this point, you know, Senator Cardin have a bill in about racial profiling that's in the Senate. We need to get that bill passed. But more important is that we need to change the attitude of the police department when they're dealing in the African American community. And that only can happen when you start partnering with the police department, changing the attitude. And they got to change their hiring practices.
That demonstration in March beginning this Saturday.
Meanwhile, protesters are being held across the Baltimore-Washington area to show outrage over the grand jury's decision. This afternoon, in front of the Metro Police Headquarters, a group called Black Youth Project 100 staged a die-in for 4.5 minutes to represent the 4.5 hours police let Michael Brown's body lay on the street. Prince George's State's Attorney Angela Alsobrooks says Ferguson officials should not have waited so long to announce the verdict.
From varying witness accounts to 3 autopsies, I mean, I think it was a case that would have been very difficult to indict and, like I said, nearly impossible to convict in. But it wasn't necessarily the result. I think that was the problem. It was the process. And I think that that's what people were concerned about, is the process, not knowing whether it was a transparent process, announcing the result at 9 p.m. at night. And so those are some of the takeaways I think that we have, is that it's not always the result. It's the way you treat people during the process that I think is also very important.
Local demonstrators have been much more peaceful than in Ferguson, where at least 20 protesters were arrested last night.
And a local community leader says the fallout in Ferguson last night turned violent because those involved in the protests have not had the proper training. Dr. James Dula says that during the civil rights movement, activists took classes to learn how to demonstrate peacefully and how to protect themselves nonviolently if attacked by police.
When your self-worth is gone. The difference is we were educated on how to conduct ourselves by the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, the SCLC, and the NAACP. So there was a broad education program on how to conduct ourselves and what our behavior should be. And when we went out to do things, or when we integrated schools, and I was part of that North Carolina school desegregation program in 1965, we had broad instructions on how to act, what to expect, and how to conduct ourselves. Today, I don't see that broad education taking place, and that is something that our community really needs to come together on, to educate our youth on how to conduct themselves and what to expect from society when they do.
Dr. Dula has written several motivational essays about African American civil rights that have gained national attention.
Well, people across the region are bracing for the highly anticipated weather change this week. A winter weather advisor is in the forecast for Howard and Montgomery counties, and a warning is in effect for western Maryland. Officials with the Prince George's Department of Public Works says crews are fully prepared should severe weather hit.
Oh, we're prepared. Our salt domes are at full capacity. We're hoping that we won't have to mobilize for as many events as we did last season, which was 27. But we're prepared. We have our vehicles have been inspected, and we're ready to go. And we're just waiting to see what Mother Nature brings us.
For the most up-to-date advisories and warnings, visit the National Weather Service website. And you're watching CTV News. I'm Gina Barty.
And I'm Byron Scott. Coming